And Trump's deportation program slipped over the last 6 months, even as arrests increase. CBS News polling shows that 59% of people said they were in favor of it back in February, but that number is now at 49%. Acting Director of ICE Todd Lyons spoke with CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez on Face the Nation about the mission. Take a listen.
ICE is going to focus on the worst of the worst. And that's what we do need to focus our limited resources on. That's one thing I've always said from the start. What's, again, frustrating for me is the fact that we would love to focus on these criminal aliens that are inside a jail facility, right? A local law enforcement agency, state agency already deemed that person a public safety threat and arrested them, and they're in detention. I'd much rather focus all of our limited resources on that to take them into custody. But we do have to go out into the community and make those arrests. And that's where you are seeing those increase of if we encounter someone, say, that is here in the country legally, we will take them into custody.
And Camilo joins us now live. Thank you so much for your time today, Camilo. The director said their priority is on arresting undocumented people with criminal histories, but then he added that non-criminals aren't off the hook, right?
Good morning, Mugo. That is completely right. The director was very clear in that interview. He told us that if ICE agents go into a community looking for somebody who is in the country illegally but also happens to have a criminal record and they encounter other people who are also in the country illegally, those people will also be taken into custody and processed for deportation, even, Mugo, if they lack any criminal record in the U.S. or overseas. And that is the big policy change that the Trump administration has enacted to scale up that mass deportation campaign that the president promised multiple times on the campaign trail. These are known as collateral arrests, and they had been banned to a large extent under the Biden administration, which instructed ICE agents to focus mostly on arresting and deporting serious criminals, people who recently entered the country unlawfully, and national security threats. Now, anyone who is here illegally is fair game to be arrested and deported from the country.
But Camilo, we're also seeing an increase on the attacks on ICE agents, right? So the director, the Lyons, talk about that and what he thinks could be behind that increase?
Yes, he did, Mugo. And just to level set, the Department of Homeland Security has released data indicating that there has been a more than 800% increase in assaults and attacks against ICE agents this year compared to 2024. And Director Lyons told us that one of the reasons that he believes is behind that sharp increase in attacks faced by his officers and agents is language from politicians opposed to this administration's immigration policies. He accused them of demonizing his agency and his agents. And obviously, we have seen significant backlash to many ICE operations across the country, including in California. But he did acknowledge, in terms of the increase, that it could also be connected to just this broader increase in operations across the country. When you have more arrests, Mugo, you're also going to have more people who are assaulting and attacking ICE agents, unfortunately. And also, what advocates would argue on the other side of this debate is that ICE's aggressive tactics are contributing to tensions running high too, Mugo.
Yeah, and Camilo, one of the biggest criticisms of these immigration arrests is that law enforcement is not identifying themselves along with their use of masks. I mean, we've all seen those videos. Regardless of who you are, that's very, very terrifying. So what did Director Lyons have to say about that?
I asked the director, Mugo, directly, shouldn't federal law enforcement officials, including at ICE, be identifying themselves when conducting arrests? And isn't the use of masks potentially dangerous because it could lead to individuals posing as ICE agents, as has been recorded in some instances? And he said he's not a proponent of ICE agents wearing masks, but he will allow the practice to continue because he is concerned about their safety and the threat of being doxxed, of the ICE agents being doxxed or their relatives being doxxed and identified. And so he will allow this controversial practice to continue. He did say that most ICE agents wear vests that indicate that they belong to a federal law enforcement agency, and that is true. We did see that during an operation in Maryland, but of course, there are still a lot of concerns about federal law enforcement officials, Mugo, wearing masks during operations.
Okay, Camilo Montoya-Galvez, great reporting. Thank you so much for joining us today.